Welcome, everyone, live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. I'm Ginny Sanders, also known as Ginny Almighty, and I'll be your host this evening for 2 hours, along with the most magnificent and incredible woman on the planet, Dr. Carolyn Dean, who is my sincere honor and privilege to work with week in and week out. And before I bring her on, I will just say a few words about this wonderful Monday. First of all, happy Labor Day to those here in the United States, and also a little bit of respect for those in the Bahamas and things who are suffering under Hurricane Dorian. Seems to be pounding and making its way around and doing its destructive behaviors. But we're all safe and sound here, and so grateful for the safety that we do enjoy. And another great thing that we get to really get grounded and centered on this evening is how grateful we are for our health. And Dr. Carolyn Dean, being the leader of our merry band of merry men this evening, is so fantastic about pointing out the many opportunities that we have to honor the body and to know that it is the intelligent force, that it does have its own ability to discern how to cure and heal itself, that its impulse is for life and even life eternal, meaning the eternal immortal cells of Henrietta Lack are still in a test tube since 1955 and have never died. So we've got that level of conversation going on here this evening, too. And what we want to just acknowledge is that through the wisdom of Dr. Dean, through many and many of her years of work and research, all of her labor and all of her effort, what we have come to is one of the most simple, elegant solutions to dealing with the body's many foibles and pitfalls as we continue to go down our pathway of toxicity and bad diet as we have here in the United States. And that's called the complement formulas, and her work with the Magnesium Miracle and the complement formulas combined have really given us a beautiful protocol to be able to focus on. So tonight we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about your health concerns, the things that are important to you, and Dr. Carolyn Dean is going to open up the mic, take your phone calls, and talk with you one-on-one about the things that are heavy on your heart or on your mind related to your health, vitality, and well-being. And I can guarantee you by the time you are done listening to her and listening to this radio program, you're going to feel a whole heck of a lot better about a lot of things. Before I bring her on, I will just also remind you that she does not practice medicine over the radio. No, that would be a big no-no. But what she does do, actually, Carolyn does not have to practice. Ladies and gentlemen, no. She is an expert. There's no practicing with her. She has refined her craft, ladies and gentlemen. No practicing here for sure. But she's not going to give medical advice. She's just going to tell you what she would do if it were her in your shoes. And, of course, all we're talking about tonight is fitness. We're talking about is nutrition. All really good, healthy, wholesome stuff. So welcome this evening, our very own, most brilliant, most lovely, most delightful, most joyful, most exuberant. I can almost picture her right now where she is in her chair with her headset on there in the beautiful, beautiful background with Maui in the background. We welcome our very own Dr. Carolyn Dean.
Awesome, Ginny, awesome. Yep, no practicing going on here. We know what we're doing. And it didn't take that long, because what I realized, even going into medicine, going into medical school, I went in with a purpose. I went in with all the books that were available at the time, and there were only a handful. Back in the late 60s, I went into medicine knowing that people could do better for their health. And the reason why I went into med school is because people wouldn't listen to me. I wasn't a doctor. They weren't going to listen to me. So I said, okay, I'll take care of that. So went to med school, did not get disabused too much. I was doing acupuncture in my second-year elective, for Pete's sake, so that kept me a bit sane. And then in my internship, I started doing my naturopathic training. So by the time I get out, and a lot faster than most doctors, I went straight into my practice after 1 year of internship. And that's because my clerkship, my fourth year, it's a clerkship, you're in the hospitals the whole time. I transferred from my med school in Halifax up to Hamilton, where they had a tutorial system. They had just started this 3 or 4 years before. So it was the first rotation of med students who did not have the traditional classroom lectures and testing. They just had tutorials. So you can imagine what happened, Ginny. Half of them didn't even study. Half of them just sort of floated through. So by the time I got there in fourth year, they were facing the end of the year national testing to determine your license. And I'd already studied for 3 straight years. So I went into the hospital experience with hardly anybody else in my class. They were all home studying, seriously. So I had the run of the hospital. I was a mere clerk, but in medicine training, it's see one, do one, teach one. See one procedure, then you have to do it, then you have to teach it to the next guy. So by the time I was out of my clerkship, I was operating like a resident because there was no one else to do. And you know me, Ginny, I'll just do it. I just say, if someone else can do this, that means I can do this. So in my internship, I did okay. I did better than okay, but I did so well that I was very comfortable of getting out of medicine and opening my practice. I was the only one of 100 interns who went into practice. Everybody else stayed into their another couple of years of family medicine. All the specialties, they all stayed back. So, that's where, I don't know, I have the luck gene. I really do. So I went through medicine, got into my practice, was able to implement natural methodologies immediately because here I was in my internship doing naturopathic training and building on what I'd been, reading throughout the years. And then that comes to today where I'm still saying the same things. And Ginny's blog that she put out for today's show, Vitamins and Minerals, Getting Your Ratios Right, and her subtitle is A Tutorial on How to Achieve the Proper Balance of Magnesium, Calcium, and Vitamin D for Optimum Health. So the blog you can read at drcarolyndeanlive.com. It's at the top there. It's today's topic, this week's topic. So I won't read every word of it, but Ginny does talk about, achieving this balance, and we've done this balancing act with our complement formulas, the Remag for the magnesium, Recalcia for calcia, the Blue Ice Royal for vitamin D, A, and K. So that's very balanced there, and there is a lot of discussion about how much calcium do you take and what's the RDA compared to what I'm recommending. The RDA is set at 1,200 to 1,500 milligrams, and what we found out is that it's too much. It's not absorbed properly, for one thing. It calcifies the body. It leads to aging and atherosclerosis, where there's an indecent number of women now experiencing atherosclerosis and heart attacks simply because they're taking calcium. And I lay that out in probably the Remite Recalcia book, certainly in the Magnesium Miracle. But we still start with whole, complete foods. I know I've said many times that the food supply is very deficient in nutrients. The soils no longer have the minerals that we require, and they don't have the vitamins either. When we process foods, we take even that small amount out. Even if you're eating organic, what that means is you're just not getting GMO foods. But if your farmer doesn't replace minerals in the soil, they aren't in the fruits and vegetables. And so even so, though, we start with whole, complete foods, including healthy proteins, fruits. Now, I only say 2 for the people who have yeast overgrowth, 2 pieces of fruit a day, and vegetables. Avoid processed foods, sugars, and other unsavory food products that diminish health and vitality. And so what we say there is eat food that's alive. When you eat packaged food, even though it's, vegan, even though it says no gluten, even though it says no sugars, it's still processed, so it's dead. So with every meal, you should try to get some salad vegetables or some gently cooked vegetables or your fruit. Eat a live food. Get your hydration. Weigh yourself in pounds. Divide that in half and drink that many ounces of water daily. And yes, it should be filtered in some way, at least to get rid of the chlorine. To each liter or quart, you add a 1/4 teaspoon of a good trace mineral sea salt. You know it's good if it still has some color to it. Hawaiian sea salt is pink. Some Himalayan salts are kind of orangey, which means more copper. So make sure it's not processed sea salt, which would be pure white. And then you're taking your Remag, and that is anywhere from 1 to 4 teaspoons a day. On the label, we have to put 1 teaspoon because of the FDA requirements. You're going to sip that through the day in your sea salted water. Calcium, as I mentioned already, that we've been told that we have to have that for our bones. But lo and behold, what happens is the more calcium we've taken, the more osteoporosis the population is suffering. So calcium isn't the answer. The answer actually is magnesium. To get the balance of magnesium and calcium, I do recommend 600 milligrams of each just for maintenance, really. For therapeutics for magnesium, you might need 900 or 1,200 milligrams of Remag. And with calcium, I'm not trying to force everybody to buy our Recalcia, because I say you should try to get your calcium through your diet. Just look up food lists or look up our Remite book, which is at drcarolyndeanlive.com, and count up the number of milligrams of calcium you're getting a day. And if you're not getting your 600, then you can go to Recalcia, which is 300 milligrams per teaspoon. The vitamin D, we found a company that makes an excellent vitamin D, vitamin A, vitamin K2 combination. It's Blue Ice Royal. It's made from fermented cod liver oil, which is a very good processing of the cod liver oil for best absorption. And it's got butter oil in it as well, which we know has vitamin K2. And vitamin K2 is very important for directing calcium to the bones. Vitamin D, if you can get sun exposure, that'd be awesome. Ginny in the blog put in that you can get an app for your iPhone called D Reminder that estimates how much vitamin D you make when you're outside, depending on where you're living, your skin type, time of year, time of day, etc. So that's pretty cool to use that algorithm. B6 we put in there because a lot of people think you need B6 to absorb your magnesium. Now, if you're taking Remag, you don't have to worry. The absorption is immediate into the cells without need for any help at all. But we're putting vitamin B6 here to remind you that we do have a product called Realign, which has all 4 methylated Bs. Methylation is a process that occurs in the liver, and some people aren't doing that so well. So you want to take Bs in the methylated form. It also has the other 4 B vitamins in a food-based form and includes two amino acids, two sulfur-based amino acids, and one of them, methionine, is the precursor to glutathione. So with the B's and the amino acids in Realign, you have your methyl groups and your sulfur from the sulfur-based amino acids for liver detoxification. And I'm going to talk about liver next. I've done a blog just recently on the liver, recent as yesterday actually, and it's up at drcarolyndean.com. In the blog that Ginny did, she does mention that I leave out CoQ10. Now that's important for people who are on statins, but I have a blog about CoQ10. Just Google my name and CoQ10 and see why I don't think it's necessary to take a high and expensive doses of CoQ10. The omega-3 fatty acids, which are another big supplement that's advertised, they are in the cod liver oil and blue oyster oil, and also in the fish you eat. So that's a real quick overview of today's blog. Ginny, what did I leave out?
Nothing. Perfect. Wonderful. Everything's just, it was wonderful.
Now, I must tell you, listeners, that Ginny is not a yes person. She will tell me no if she thinks it's a no, so don't think she's totally under my thumb. Not totally.
Oh, no.
Okay?
Oh, no. I will say my no's, as we will know. Yes. No. I thought that was great. Thank you. It was very good. Very good.
Okay, now, Ginny did ask me for the next blog, and so I created a blog. What do I call it? Reset Your Liver. Right. Now, I know liver escapes a lot of people. You don't think about your liver. But an email I got back after writing this blog, before I get into the blog, I'll just say it. They asked what I thought about Anthony Williams' liver rescue book. And he's the medical medium who's selling his $20 and $30 books all over the known universe and getting everybody excited because they think God is telling them what to do through this guy. And who am I to diss people who are writing books? But this gentleman has an agenda, a vegetarian agenda. So everything he says is geared toward vegetarianism. And, most of you know my thoughts on vegetarianism. It's good for some people. It's good for detoxing. It's good for people who want to turn their lifestyle around. But for me and for, it looks like 96% of the population, because only 4% of the population is vegan vegetarian, for 96% of the population, it is not the diet that we want or require. And I had Williams' liver rescue book on my Kindle, so I did a quick go-through of it again. And seriously, every time he comes to a fact, it's either a half-truth or it's completely ridiculous or it makes no sense. And I realize that going through his book, as I said, I've looked at it before, and it is amazing when he has almost 2,000 testimonial reviews and not, I think it's like 80% 5-star, people just all gushy at how wonderful it is. But that may be for people who aren't eating well, who want someone to tell them what to do. But even from the title, if he's talking from spirit, when you're saying liver rescue, you right away put your liver in jeopardy. You are saying to your liver, oh, I know you're in bad shape, and, I'll get Anthony to fix it for you. You're giving up responsibility for your own perfect liver. your liver is fine, and you'll just say to your liver, I'm happy where I am with my liver. I'm grateful for my wonderful liver, and I'm ready for more. I'm ready for feeling more better with my liver. And what I'm trying to do with this reset your liver is just allow you to understand what may be going on, to kind of brainwash you in the allopathic medicine sense about your liver, because as I say in the blog, there's an epidemic of non-alcoholic fatty liver. We know about alcoholic liver that leads to cirrhosis, et cetera, but doctors are pretty shocked, as they often are, about the way chronic disease is building up, that there's this non-alcoholic fatty liver, and they don't know what's causing it, and they try to say, well, it's not such a serious condition, because 25% of the adult population is suffering this fatty liver now. And because only 3 to 5% go on to develop a more serious fatty liver, which leads to scarring and cirrhosis, they kind of say, well, we'll try to find the drug that'll help you. Just keep posted, we're doing our best for you. But what will really counter non-alcoholic fatty liver is the diet. But since doctors don't know much or anything about nutrition, and they don't get paid for giving nutrition advice, non-alcoholic fatty liver continues to rise to epidemic proportions. And what I say in the blog, as I said, you can get it at drcarolyndean.com. I think non-alcoholic fatty liver is another notch on the smoking gun of metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome is insulin resistance from eating too much sugar. It's people who have obesity, are overweight, have obstructive sleep apnea, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, high triglycerides. They're either pre-diabetic or have type 2 diabetes. They have polycystic ovarian syndrome, elevated liver enzymes, and a high sugar fructose diet. And another thing about Williams and all his books that he's, I guess, typing up from Spirit, is he says, fruit is great, the liver loves fruit, so eat your fruit. Whereas what we do know from the video, The Bitter Truth, and I did a iPod the other day with someone, and I forgot The Bitter Truth's.
Robert Lustig? Is that what you're saying?
Robert Lustig, yeah, I forgot his name. Dr. Robert Lustig. This gentleman is a pediatric endocrinologist, and he pulled the plug on fructose because he says his children, the pediatric endocrinologist that he is, he says children are obese, almost at birth, and then they get hooked on high fructose corn syrup. And it's not that Williams is telling people to drink high fructose corn syrup. Sodas, but fructose is fructose, whether it's in your soda or in that big plate of fruit that you're eating. And what happens with fructose is the liver doesn't digest it properly, or maybe I should say it this way. Fructose needs a different metabolism than does glucose. So when you digest fructose, actually you need twice as many magnesium molecules as you do for glucose. 28 for glucose, 56 for fructose. So right away, that's depleting your magnesium, puts an extra strain on the liver, and the fructose, in order to get rid of it, it's dumped into triglycerides. And, one supposedly famous doctor said once that his triglycerides shot up to the thousands when he started doing fruit only for breakfast. So anyway, what will happen with people who are eating a lot of fruit is they will develop a fatty liver. And everybody will scratch their head and say, oh, you're eating so healthy, I don't know how that happened. Well, that's how it happened. And fatty liver, apparently by the year 2030, it will affect 63% of the world's population. And the drug companies, they're jumping into the fray, as I said, trying to tell people how to deal with this and what drugs to take to avoid this happening. But anyway, as I said already, just like with diabetes, it's a dietary solution. Stop the sugar. With fatty liver, stop the sugar and really cut back on your fruit. When Pfizer gets into the act on its website and tells you what to do, it's lose 7 to 10% of body weight if you're overweight or obese. Well, yeah, that's a good start. But what about targeting you to your ideal body weight? What about losing more than 7 to 10%? Increase physical activity, absolutely. And be sure to take your Remag and your Remite for the electrolytes that you're going to lose. Now, Pfizer also says reduce your saturated fats, but that's problematic because a lot of people are going to benefit on a keto diet for fatty liver, because what I think keto diet is going to do is it'll turn on your fat burning so that you are going to burn off that excess fat in your liver. Stop drinking sugary beverages, absolutely. You're going to eliminate sugar, high fructose corn syrup, and chemical sweeteners that also damage the liver. You're going to limit your alcohol, and they say to 1 drink a day for women, 2 drinks a day for men. Well, in spite of studies that say alcohol can be beneficial, I never recommend alcohol to any individual in case they become addicted because of their genetic inability to metabolize alcohol. Pfizer also says drink 2 or more cups of caffeinated coffee a day. Now, presumably, this is from a study that said that when your body metabolizes caffeine, it makes a chemical that slows the growth of the scar tissue involved in fibrosis. Now, I don't know if that's a shock reaction. I don't believe in shocking the body to do things, but instead of suffering the side effects of caffeine, which are overstimulating your adrenals to produce adrenaline, to speed your heart rate, and put you in line for palpitations and for acting like a major diuretic. So instead of caffeine to prevent fibrosis and scar tissue, I recommend our Realign and Remag to properly deal with inflammation naturally. So I go on. I'm writing longer blogs these days, so I give a lot of information. I tell people to follow Dr. Jason Fung and his diabetes code, the obesity code, and the complete guide to fasting for his approach to the ketogenic diet. And, of course, the total body reset for people with fatty liver. And I give a good overview of, as Ginny has outlined in her blog today, I give the overview of the water intake, the Realign, with a product description, the Restructure, our RNA reset drops, Remag, and Remite. Now, what's interesting about the liver, when I went over Restructure there, I was reminded that I really did not see people healing from liver disease, and that would be more like the hepatitis A and B, if they didn't have a good amount of protein in their diet. So I really caution people about treating any sort of liver disease with a vegetarian vegan diet. In addition to the RNA Reset bundle for the liver, I talk about pico silver being important because the liver does harbor certain viruses in order to protect the body. So it's important to use Pico Silver when you are on the complement formulas as your immune system kicks in and starts working on these organisms. Also, we'll soon have Flora Revive on board to help people with the bowel function. The bowels depend on bile coming from the liver. They get thrown out of balance when the liver's out of balance, and to restore the probiotic balance in the body with organisms and overcome dysbiosis. Flora Revive is going to be very important. So that's my liver blog, and I'll right away mention that someone wrote to me right away when she read the blog and said, my only issue with this article is the recommendation for the keto diet. My sister currently has non-alcoholic fatty liver. She tried to go keto, but her liver couldn't handle all the fats. She was constantly nauseated. And I told her, yes, I'm aware of this, and I forgot to put in the article. I'll revise the post as it appears on my website. And what I know about the whole keto diet a year and a half ago, because I'm a bit of a burper. My mother had gallbladder disease, so I've always thought, I better watch out. But what I found with my body is that the fasting at the beginning of going into the keto diet really did help me turn on my fat burning, burn up the fat that was stranded in my liver and maybe gagging me and burping me. And I think that set the stage for me being able to, very nicely deal with the keto diet. I had not had problems with avocados or a lot of fatty foods in the past, like nuts and seeds. Bacon was a bit of a problem. I love the taste of bacon, and now I'm okay with bacon, etc. So I'm not saying everybody is going to be okay with that, but adding intermittent fasting and certainly a few days of fasting before you start the keto diet will turn on your fat burning function that you haven't been using. If you've been eating carbs all along, you don't need to burn fats that well. So when you turn on your fat burning, it helps clean up the liver to get you started. So I'd like to hear from people if that's that makes sense to them. So I'll give that bit of advice. I already emailed this customer. Now, the customer continues about her sister who has a fatty liver and tried to go on keto. She says she's overweight, maybe even obese, has a big belly, has had that since she had an ovary with a cyst removed when she was in college. I'm assuming the accompanying antibiotics gave her leaky gut and she never rectified it. So that's very possible. So I said maybe going on the yeast detox before going to keto would be helpful. The customer continues. Anyway, she's currently on paleo, has lowered her alcohol and sugar intake. Well, I would say to just stop them. You just have to stop. You just have to say no. We seem to have inherited a liver weakness of some sort, she says. She said she couldn't tolerate keto either. And I said that at that point the liver does harbor viruses, so the Pico Silver and the yeast detox will help. And also milk thistle is a great liver herb. Now, milk thistle, when you do any herbs, please try to get the organic ones. So anyway, that's kind of a nice follow-up to the liver blog. And as I said, I'll have to amend my my posts to reflect that. It's hard to say everything, even though I'm writing longer posts, and I try to say everything. It's pretty hard. So, Ginny, I think I've used up my time, and I will turn things over to you now.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. That was very good, comprehensive. I'm very glad you did the non-alcoholic fatty liver, because it is a big issue for a lot of people. And what people don't realize is a lot of times, they say that they're bloated, and they're not bloated. They have fat sitting on top of their organs. That's not bloat. That's fat, right, on top of their organs. And they've got that kind of basketball look right there. It's really, really common with men. So if you're married to someone or your spouse and you're thinking that they've got that bloat and they've got that fat sitting up right on top of their organs, they call it non-alcoholic fatty liver, but it really is fat on top of all organs. Then you can make that gentle suggestion that maybe a keto might be beneficial. And that was brought up by one of our family friends who kept asking about what was going on with him, and we got to the bottom of it for him, and now he's doing the products, and he's doing intermittent fasting and the keto diet, and it's all gone. I mean, it's just amazing. It's just all gone.
And actually, I think you were away 2 weeks ago on Bob's show. Brian phoned in, and he was all giddy about fasting. It turns out he's gone into the intermittent fasting in a big way. But what he said is he'll fast overnight and through the morning, and then he'll eat anything he wants for 6 or 7 hours. And that's not what I recommend at all. I don't say it's a way for you to fast away your bad diet, and I don't know exactly what Brian was eating, but I didn't get a chance to kind of interview him anymore about it on the show. But intermittent fasting is not a solution to eating a junk food diet for 6 or 7 hours and then kind of fasting it and burning it away. It is a way for your body to as I said, burn off the fat in your liver, and as Ginny's saying, burn off the fat that can be sitting right on top of your organs, and then eat the good, alive foods that the body requires just to keep us alive. I mean, if you look at the radish experiment that we have in our webinar, the RNA Reset Drops webinar, we talk about how well plants do when they are alive, when they do have good probiotics and bacteria in the soil. And we achieved that with our RNA Reset mash, the leftover barley straw. We put it in the soil, and we put it in water and sprayed the plants with that water. And lo and behold, the life force in the plants deterred worms and bacteria that would otherwise have inundated the plants and the weeds as well, and they inundated the test plot. So that's where you have to eat live food. And I know the ketogenic diet, you can get carried away, as I have done, where I'm doing my berries and heavy whipping cream and my protein and my cheeses, and it's like, oh, I don't have any room for my vegetables, my salad. And I caught myself doing that quite a bit, and I realized I have to have greens. So the carbs that I do eat, it's going to be the greens and my berries as well. So just a little embellishment about the keto diet. Actually, I'll put those words in the next edition of Reset Your Ideal Weight. Trying to keep people posted on my experience with the keto diet. So I'm at the point where actually I maybe one day I'll be keto, and the next day I will do more carbs. Do some brown rice or do some brown rice noodles, and just have some variety. I'm not the chef that Ginny is, because she can. I mean, that woman is amazing. She can whip up anything and make it awesome. But for me, I'm looking at more carbs for variety every second day. So there. What do you say to that, Ginny?
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. Well, you're in a maintenance mode, and when you think about it, Carolyn, you wrote the keto book in November of 2017. So you've really been, after it for almost 2 years. So, and not in a real, like you say, rigorous cultic way, but just as an ongoing experiment. And that's why I always try to encourage our listeners to know that Carolyn experiments with everything on herself first, and then she enrolls some friends to join her. But she will do everything on herself first. She does not, everything that she encourages people to do, she has done herself. And she'll even overcome her own objections, just like she said, well, I didn't really want to do keto, but I decided I better get in there and figure it out. And she found out what a blessing it could be given certain circumstances. So, she's very, very good about that. You can feel confident in the things. And, of course, as she says in every single one of her blogs, you have to do what feels good for your body. I think one of the things that people do when they first start keto is they do start out a little heavy on the fat because they're trying to make up for the lack of the taste of the sweet. So it's like they go from their foods being super rich to being super sugary to being super rich. And that's kind of like a transitional thing that happens. But ultimately, when you transition off of that, it is, a really good balance of protein and healthy fats. And then, like Carolyn says, your carbs really come from your vegetables, and you just avoid the berries, the fruits, unless you've got a handful of berries and things. But it's actually pretty manageable, I think, don't you?
Oh, gosh, yes. It is. But just get those greens in there. I think if you keep thinking the thought that, let me eat something that's alive today, that will guide you better than counting carbs or counting calories. Eat something that's alive.
Yeah, that's very good. Yep. Eat your living foods. Excellent. Well, we're live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com again, and I think our 8th year or something, Carolyn, crazy of doing this radio show is such a tremendous benefit for so many people over the years who literally rehabilitated themselves and tackled their health issues head on, and have been able to call intermittently for your counsel and your wisdom and get the encouragement they need to sustain the changes that they've made in their health and go on and live very productive, happy lives. So we're so happy to be of service in this regard. 602-666-6027 is the number to call. So you can talk to Dr. Dean this evening. And what you'll want to do, and I do see some new callers on the line, is you've got to hit *5 on your keypad. *5 will raise your hand in the studio and let us know you have a question or a comment. And then we put you on the phone with Dr. Dean. We'll take your phone off mute by announcing your area code, and then you can speak with her. If you don't raise your hand by hitting *5, I don't have any way of knowing that you want to talk to her. And then you just remain muted, and we can't exchange. So let's see where our – yes.
Jenny. I'm looking over the mailbag, and there's something that kind of fits into what we were talking about with the product. So let me read this blog while you see who's, where we go next, okay?
Okay.
Okay, this is a comment on a blog I wrote ages ago that magnesium regenerates genes. I don't even remember it, but someone says, excellent article. You are so impressively knowledgeable regarding the push for genetic testing. It is a new toy for doctors who feel they are on the cutting edge of an area in medicine that is yet to be explored. I refer you to Dr. Eng, E-N-G, a geneticist at the Cleveland Clinic, who I wrote to after I had genetic tests and found out that I have the MTHFR TT gene SNYP. The Internet was abound with horror stories regarding this mutation. Dr. Eng wrote back to me that the MTHFR test is absolutely ridiculous to run on anyone with the exception of a very high homocysteine level. My integrative physician put me on a very high dose of 5-methylfolate, which later I found was too high. I am almost 80 and in good health. So I researched further and found out some true facts. No one knows how genetics affect our health, and after recognizing that it is a moneymaker for online doctors selling massive supplements, I stopped obsessing over it. I found in some instances gene SNYPS can be protective. We are all so different that to try to figure out an individual gene map would be impossible, and impossible to know what any of it means. I inherited my MTHFR gene, SNYP, in part from my mother, who lived to be 97 in perfect health, and so did her mother. I believe in good health practices and try to understand one's body. It's a toxic world. Maybe we ought to start there. Thank you for your common sense. Isn't that awesome? I'll have to look up this Dr. Jing, E-N-G, but he said the MTHFR test is absolutely ridiculous to run on anyone with the exception of anyone who, unless they have a high homocysteine level. Isn't that incredible?
Yeah. I think it's amazing and a very good insight for people who actually know what's going on, because as we know, what happens is, I can say this, very few doctors are intuitive. They're totally disconnected from their own non-physical sensibilities. They don't really know how to rely on, their instincts combined with this, combined with that. And definitely wiping nutrition off the menu is another way to get disconnected. So the bottom line is they only can rely on tests. And since people are coming in with these chronic conditions and so many complex, of X, Y, and Z syndromes, as we know, they're just going to keep testing. And just pile it on. So,
right, and I've gone the opposite way. I really don't trust tests. Yeah.
Well, and like you said so perfectly earlier in the show, if you're like the medical intuitive guy who says that he's talking through spirit, but anybody who says that they're talking through non-physical and then they're telling people that they have a condition is activating that condition vibrationally, and it's just causing people to be fearful. I mean, it's just like you say, the diagnosis of cancer is often worse than the condition itself because it puts people in such shock and fear. So now what? People get this thing, and it's like, well, I have this, and then they become that, and then they just keep creating it with their words and their experience and looking for it, and instead of just doing, what we say, give your body the basic building blocks and step away from, diagnosing or attempting much other than that. Let them inherit the intelligence of the body sort it all out.
Awesome. Yeah, very good. Let me say these words. Here, it was someone from last week, Ginny. They wrote in. It's about the Remag lotion. Hi, Ginny and Dr. Dean. I have a testimonial I want to share with you. I was listening to last Monday's radio show and typed into the chat about bone spur I have growing on my wrist. I asked Dr. Dean's advice, and she replied to use Remag lotion. I typed in that I had started using it. Ginny typed in saying she used it all over her body, LOL. I'm so happy to report that after applying Remag lotion 3 to 4 times a day, it has almost disappeared completely and stopped aching. Yay! I was so impressed it happened so fast. I also want to mention I had to cut back to 2 teaspoons of Remag in my 32 ounces. I experienced some loose stools on 3 teaspoons. So that's where the Remag lotion really came in handy, I'm sure, for her. I love my Remag and Remite. I also take Realign 2 a day. Will continue to use the lotion. Thank you, Dr. Dean Ginny, for all the work you do for us. I'm 63 and a believer in your products, and keep spreading the word to my family and friends. So there is a quick feedback from Brenda for us. Thank you very much,
wow, that's
Brenda.
fantastic.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Well,
so there you go,
nice.
folks. Yeah. And people will write to me and say, well, this and that and this and that, and it's, why is it working for me? And, if I know some little thing about them or whatever, I say, well, have you done this? Have you done this most important thing in your life, which will turn your life around? And it's like, well, no. There's always a reason. We're not cocky. We're just confident. We are a C word about what we're doing here. And here's Sandy, our dear, dear, dear friend up, is it Boston Way, Sandy, our chef?
Yes, our good, Sandy,
baker.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She wrote this in, and it was a few weeks ago. I apologize, Sandy. My name is Sandy, and I've been on the Reset protocol for 4 years. When I started, I was suffering for 6 months with bilateral pain syndrome from taking amoxicillin, and was told by the doctors that the never-ending pain was permanent. I would be on medication for life. Good news, right? I could not take the pain day in and day out. I wanted to put an end to me, and after I prayed, I turned on my iPad, and there was Dr. Carolyn Dean on YouTube. I reached out, found Ginny, who told me that I will recover and that there was more than hope. There are nutrients, and I can do it. My prayers are now answered. I am healed, mostly pain-free. I am sleeping better now that my body's needs have been met. I am almost always happy. There's no unhappiness or low energy in the world of RNA. I just went to my first doctor appointment in 4 years and told her that I'm 67 years old. I take no medication, no unnatural painkillers. I follow Dr. Dean's protocol. I speak for her when I speak to her when I need to on the show or through her wonderful support team. She said that my blood work, her doctor now, said that my blood work was perfect. My blood pressure 126/80. Wow, it had been 179/97. She got up and hugged me. Oh, my. The doctor said to keep doing what I have been doing. I went from total body breakdown to this in 4 years. I also no longer have fibromyalgia that started in my 30s. There's very little anxiety, worry, thanks to Remag, Remite, Realign, Blue Ice Royal, RNA drops, Pico Silver, Renew Serum, and Restructure, and Dr. Dean with her support team. I'll end with this. Don't give up. Don't let what you have going on, don't let what you have gone through become who you are. There are wonderful people here at RNA Reset to help and care for you. Thank you, Dr. Dean Ginny, Julie, Melody Rose. I am living a life of happiness, health, and security, knowing you are in this world to help us all. With love, Sandy. Isn't that beautiful?
Oh,
yay.
wow.
Do a yay.
Wait a minute. I was just going to say, wait, hold on. That's just really fantastic. It is so gratifying. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, love her.
Yeah.
Boy, I'll tell you, that was one determined woman, though. I mean, honestly,
Right.
She was unwavering in her commitment to do the formulas, get everything in, be committed to the protocol. She was very fastidious about calling into customer service. She called into the radio show. She used every resource we had, and it served her well. She's really a champion and a complete and total doll. We're at the top of the hour, Carolyn. Let's pick this up in hour 2, live with Dr. Carolyn Dean. We'll be right back here on AchieveRadio.com. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back.
be back with Hour 2 of Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean, along with host Ginny Gunther, after this brief station break. You can also get updates and resources online by visiting drcarolyndean.com.
Psychic radio, holistic radio, spiritual radio. This is achieveradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/achieveradio.
What city plays?
The old categories. They don't apply anymore. And we're just superhuman, discarnate things right now.
What city plays?
We're well beyond the categories for men and women right now. And we're just superhuman, discarnate things right now. Bring back the body.
Give me body, body.
Bring back the body.
Give me body, body.
I do advocate immediate fast to bring back the body.
Give me body, body.
Bring back the body.
Give me body, body.
AchieveRadio.com.
Here we go now. Go to the Carolyn. Here we go now. Here we go now. The wellness scene with Dr. D. Here we go now. Here we go now. Go to the Carolyn. The wellness scene with Dr. D.
Welcome back, everybody. Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on achieveradio.com. Hour 2 coming at you right now. Want to just give a little prop out to our very fine musicians from South Africa, Michael Brown, and I think Nicholas was involved, Carolyn, in making that little studio jam session. Here we go now, Wellness with Dr. Dean. And it is true, we are on the road to Wellville. It is the destiny of everyone listening to this radio show to have imperative, impeccable health, vitality, and well-being if you so choose. So welcome back, Carolyn, and what shall we do now? What would you like to do?
I have a lot of testimonials, so I can keep going there. But we should also mention Dave Neufeld's song that Bob is speaking on was there, too. Everything's Disappeared. Dave Neufeld did that record album using clips from Bob's Toronto radio show decades ago.
30 years ago.
30 years ago.
Yes. Very good. Absolutely. Yeah. Very good. Our good friend Dave Neufeld.
So you ready for testimonials, or do you have any chat? I know it's a Labor Day weekend, but we just can't stop. I mean, if we miss a week, the testimonials build up. There's too much to be said, right, Ginny?
Yes, no, I agree completely. And we do have a couple people holding, so let's do a couple phone calls, and then we'll go back to our testimonials.
Okie doke.
Okay, let's go out to the great state of Florida, area code 904. You're on the line with Dr. Carolyn Dean. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment.
Terrace Springs.
Yeah, go ahead, love.
Oh, hi, sorry. Hi, I was calling because I just had a couple of questions for Dr. Dean. A couple of years ago, I'm 39, and a couple of years ago, I had my last child, and she's currently 5 now, and I just downloaded your free online book regarding the thyroid, and I've delved into the last 2 years intensively trying to figure out what's going on in my body, as I've had excessive hair loss just on the sides and the front of my scalp, and tingling in my hands and feet at night, super cold feet at night. Basically a lot of things pointing to the thyroid. And of course, my husband is Air Force, so I was seeing originally only MDs and OBGs at the time and hormone specialists within that community. And they were testing the thyroid and, of course, telling me everything was normal, doing labs, telling me everything was normal, but all while knowing that it was not normal. So fast forward to our current duty station here in Dayton, Ohio, I found an ND who's also an MD, and she did 18 labs. She did a stool test, and the only thing that showed up on my blood work was I was low in iron. And then what showed in the stool was that I had overgrowth of bad bacteria, basically leaky gut. So she gave me the supplements to attack that, but yet the hair loss is still happening. The tingling was still happening, so on and so on. So she tested the thyroid, and she explained to me that MDs don't check all parts of the thyroid. That's why I was being told everything is normal. And she did see that I was low. I was a little bit low. Basically, she said the beginning stages of Hashimoto's. But she didn't recommend thyroid medication at the time. We just did supplements, selenium through Brazilian nuts, and a couple other supplements that she added. Well, so then I've been seeing her since December of last year. Just went in recently. She sent me home with the Dutch test because the hair loss is still cycling, and it's only on the. It's the Dutch complete test, urine. So
I don't know that.
Okay, it's called the Dutch Complete Test, and it's a urine test that you take home, and you do it between your cycle days. You pee on the sticks, basically. Yeah, so then you send it off, and yes. So I went in to get the results. After all the blood work we have done, the results were mind-blowing. I am off the charts high in testosterone. I am high in cortisol. I am high in cortisone. I am, my progesterone is off. My sex hormones are off. Basically, all things pointing to, well, a lot of things pointing to the thyroid, but yet on paper, currently now, like I said, I've been seeing her since December. On paper, my thyroid is looking pretty okay, but yet, according to this test, a lot of things are not okay. So the other thing, so basically what she didn't really, I could tell she was hesitant to prescribe me medication, but according to this test and my symptoms, she was like, I'm going to go ahead and do it because I can see your frustration. She goes, but so she prescribed me a low dose, 15 mgs of Armour Thyroid. And then she also has me on 2 new supplements for hormonal balancing, which is Chase Tree and Myo-inositol. I'm not sure I'm saying that correctly. Inositol. I'm not sure. Yes.
Right.
Yes. And
okay,
so
are you ready
that's
for
where I'm at.
me to say words? Yeah.
Yes,
so that's
I
where
am.
you're at. Okay.
Oh, and can I just add that in my past, I have done Accutane and antibiotics for my face as an adolescent up and through my 20s. So just Accutane one time though, but I have done antibiotics and that in my past. So.
Okay, so how much, now did you say your name was Harris or were you giving your location? What's your first name?
My first name is Tara.
Oh, Tara.
Yeah, Tara.
Awesome.
Yep.
I love it.
Thank
One of my
you.
nicknames is Tar. I love Tara. Okay, hon. How much of the thyroid book have you read? my thyroid book?
I've literally just dove into probably the first 8 pages.
Okay. So what I talk about in there is kind of everything you're going through.
Yes.
How many children have you had?
So I just have 2. I have a 6-year-old and a 5-year-old.
That's fine. Yeah, that's enough. I haven't had any. You've done your share. You can stop. Okay, so you can probably look at one of my other little booklets. It's called Total Body Meltdown. So this is kind of what women go through. And you're right about the thyroid. And, yes, certainly the tests will show all kinds of imbalance. And, you know, a doctor shouldn't have to treat out of frustration, poor woman. But if she knew about the complement formulas, she'd know. And you'll read that in our Remite formula, 9 of the 12 minerals support the thyroid to the point of helping to make thyroid hormones. And instead of waiting for your thyroid to completely crash and then give you armor thyroid, which is, I guess, better than the synthetic thyroid that the allopathic doctors would get, but it's still not getting to the basis of the building blocks of what got you where you're at. The tingling hands is probably magnesium deficiency as well. It's not just thyroid, so what you'll be reading about is how people, mostly women people, they're just so multitasking, having children, lowering their, you know, their everything. It's like, how can you have this dear little parasitic child growing in you without it pulling away all that you are? I mean, you can feel it. I was only pregnant for a couple of months once before I had a miscarriage, and it took me a year to overcome. A year from a 3-month pregnancy. It was amazing. So I feel for you, and you know, rather than getting you on this merry-go-round of, oh my gosh, everything's a mess. Oh, look at all these tests and the supplements. I mean, I can only imagine how many supplements are in your drawers now, because you know that's what naturopaths do instead of drugs, and they think they're hot shit because they're not giving you drugs. But it's the same mentality, because it's like, oh, you've got this symptom, here, take this. Whereas if you take the building blocks for your adrenals, which are shot, for your thyroid, which has been drained, one child will deplete your thyroid about 20%. You know, I'm kind of making that up, but you know what I see from women is that there's no question that if they have more than one child, then their thyroid is at risk. If you have 2 children, you're getting up at night, you're not getting your sleep, your adrenals are at risk, and your sex hormones. Who wants to have sex when, you know, you're just shut it all down because you're just too wrecked. But, you know, the worst is over. You know, you started with the thyroid book, and I've got another dozen books for you to read. I don't know what your timing is like. Do you work outside the home as well?
No, I stay in the home.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so they're just starting school this year.
Right. Well, you have the time to take care of yourself, and it's not there's not much involved other than, you know, kind of reading what I'm talking about in the book. You can get my Reset the Yeast Connection book too, because you're right about the antibiotic history. It will put your intestines at risk, but that you know, we can overcome all of this stuff. It's just getting the building blocks for the thyroid going. The REMAG, 80% of known metabolic functions in the body require magnesium. So how much magnesium has your naturopath got you on?
So interestingly enough, my brother listens to you all the time. That's how I heard about you. And probably about 2 months back, I bought your magnesium. She has never once talked to me about magnesium until this test result. She was like, after she prescribed the thyroid medication and the other 2 supplements, she goes, "Ann, you need to be taking lots of magnesium right now." And I said, "I have a magnesium." And she said, "You do?" And I told her which one it was. She didn't know about it. And she said, "How much are you taking?" And I said, "I'm taking 1 teaspoon right now." But then my brother told me, he was like, "You need to be taking 1 teaspoon in the morning and 1 teaspoon at night."
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I've moved up to since these test results.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Okay, and you'll get the guidance as you read the books about what more to take or what else to take. So I'm going to leave it at that. You know, I've given you your pep talk, and now you'll read the information. I'm not going to repeat the information that you'll read. If you have specific questions, just email or phone into customer service, and everybody there is really well educated to be able to answer your questions. And in the event that they need my input, I get back, within hours to questions.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Also,
thank
Carolyn,
you.
before you hang up, Carolyn, just talk for a minute about the role of magnesium and the other minerals and the managing the cortisol, because that's also another thing that really, impacts people with the adrenal stress, and they wake up in the morning and they feel crummy and their body's just full of cortisol. What can you tell her about that?
Right. Yes, that whole business. I forget what book that. I have to do an adrenal book, don't I, Ginny? So what happens is if you don't have enough magnesium, you don't sleep deeply enough, and the body is tight and tense. And when you're just sleeping on the surface, your dreams will even cause cortisol to rise. It's like a dream will get adrenaline going, get your cortisol going, and that will show up in the urine. And then everybody freaks out that your hormones are all out of whack, but they don't know what to do with it, except, maybe your doctor was finally saying, "Oh, that magnesium may help," because the magnesium will stop the irritability, stop the adrenals from misfiring, and just calm the muscles of the whole body. So have you noticed, I know 1 teaspoon is just kind of a low dose for what you've been going through, but what have you noticed on the Remag?
Well, since I've only, pretty much bumped it up probably the last week and a half.
I see.
Yeah, so I mean, she told me to add in melatonin too, but I haven't done that. I'm just doing the Remag at night now. That's the only thing I've changed in my routine with the Remag. So,
right.
Yeah.
Right. So add it, like your brother said, during the day, but also look at the guidelines that we have in the thyroid book. They talk about putting the magnesium in sea salted water and sipping it through the day. Because if you just take it in one shot, then you can overload or the cells won't accept it all, and then you waste it. When you urinate, it comes out in the urine, et cetera, and just know that you're using these as building blocks. They're not drugs to stop your symptoms. They are building blocks that you want to supply your cells with, so that your body can get back to its original blueprint of perfection. Right now, the way your doctor said, well, take melatonin for sleep. Do not take any more supplements. Finish the ones you've got. One of my blogs is, I guess it's called Dr. Dean Supplement Recommendations, and Ginny can put that on chat if you don't mind, Ginny. Dr. Dean Supplement Recommendations. It says exactly what a person requires, and in my 50 years experience at this, you just need a few basic nutrients. And what's happened is we've let the supplement industry overpower us with the advertising that tells us, well, these are the top 100 supplements you should be taking. And, it is mind-boggling that with all the symptoms you've had, you weren't even told about magnesium by a naturopath. So that is scary.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. And thank your brother. Tell him he's a very nice brother for...
He is. He's always pointing me your direction. Your direction.
Well, I'm glad you finally listened to your brother. That's what I'll say. Okay, Tara, you're good for now?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
You're welcome. Good talking to you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yes, we'll give a little love shout to her brother. And as we say, Carolyn, we all need to be looking out for each other, so that's good stuff right there. Good stuff right there. All right, let's go up to Marquette, Michigan, area code 906. 906, you're on the line with Dr. Dean this evening. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment.
Hi, this is Valerie Olson. Always good to listen. I always learn so much. I wanted to ask about using the Remag lotion on a 1-year-old. I've been using it on my grandson. I don't really see any problem at all, but I'm amazed that I can give him probably close to 2 teaspoons, and I don't see any slight laxative effect.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking because of... Go ahead.
Yeah. No, nothing to say here. Go ahead.
I was just going to say I really suspect because his personality is such that he is just go, 100 miles an hour, explore everything within sight, never stop, just really misses nothing, very observant, really bright. I'm thinking that, and doesn't sleep, by the way, like still wakes up every couple hours at night. And so that's one reason when I take care of him a day a week or whatever it happens to be, a morning a week, I will use it. And what I see is I see it kind of calm him. If I take a teaspoon of it and put it on his legs and feet and maybe the rest on his back, I just see within 20 minutes, 30 minutes, I just see he's even. He's more even. He's just kind of wound down a little bit. I'm not there to use it at night. I think my daughter's been using some, probably not enough. And I told her what I had asked in a previous program. I had asked about, I'd asked you about what if you OD'd a child. At that time he was like maybe 10 months old. He's 14 months old now. And you just said, he'd just get a slightly loose stool and he would excrete it. And haven't seen that happen even with, I would guess, a couple teaspoons of the Remag lotion.
Right. Well, you're fine. I mean, it's so safe. It has that fail-safe of the laxative effect, but it sounds like he's good with it, and maybe he needs it, because when kids are overstimulated, it's like there's an irritation in their system, and that might not be such a good thing. So I'm glad you're able to give it to him, and it does sound like he's not really getting enough, actually, if he's not getting it every day.
Right. Well, and also, he is getting it every day, but a small amount, like 100 milligrams, I don't believe is enough for that that type of personality. I don't think that, and when you've talked before about building up reserves, because I have some of my patients will get up to, one gal got up to 4 teaspoons before she got a slight laxative effect, and now she's down at 1 teaspoon, and that's all she needs, just like you had shared your story. And I'm guessing this little guy has never really slept well in 14 months. I'm guessing he just has no reserves, and that they need to be built up, which is what I'm going to try to encourage my daughter to do, to space it out and maybe use it 3 times a day, and just see for a while, to build him up.
Well, the thing, Valerie, about just doing it with the cream is that it will absorb slower than by mouth. So once a day, I mean, if your daughter feels burdened by doing it 2 and 3 times a day, as long as she's doing a good teaspoon or 2 after his bath at night, that would be awesome. That could be all he requires.
Okay, I'm going to suggest after a bath would be a good time, because I know she told me she was using some in the morning, because I had told her, well, in the morning we're at our low point. You know, we're needing it in the morning, and I think that's all she was doing, but I'll just encourage her to use it in the evening. I also wanted to comment.
Easier.
Pardon?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was
it
going to
might
say,
be
I wanted
easier
to
for her to do that.
Right. I wanted to comment on the caller, I think it was Tara, and she mentioned something about the ND saying she was leaning towards Hashimoto's, and I myself have Hashimoto's, and so I have spent a lot of time trying to take seminars and workshops, and one of my teachers was Aristo Vojani, who is a bioimmunologist, and, you know,
I know him.
Do you know him? And he started Cyrex Labs, which has some amazing panels that aren't offered by most labs. But what I appreciated that he said in this one talk was that with autoimmune people, they have to stop gluten and dairy foods. And what I've seen in my testing, he said, always also check rice and corn, because they can cross-react. And so after I heard that, I started testing all my Hashimoto's people. And sure enough, yellow corn specifically, even if it was organic, it didn't matter, was a big issue. The blue corn, not so much. I don't know if that's because we haven't hybridized it or done what we've done to yellow corn, but also brown and white rice were issues. And again, it did not matter that it was organic, but the black rice, the forbidden black rice, was okay. And so, you know, one of my doctor teachers said the black rice might be okay because it has a harder outer kernel and may not absorb as much arsenic as the other rices absorb. And that could be one reason. I know rice has an affinity for absorbing arsenic, and there's a lot of arsenic in the water that we flood the fields with when we grow rice, and, you know, it's present in the water, so even though it's organic, there can be arsenic in it. I don't know the answer to that. I just know that what Dr. Vojani said is it doesn't matter if you're within the reference range, like they'll say you need to be below 30 on your thyroid peroxidase. He said even if you're 10, that's an indication there is some autoimmune activity, and just abide by the same guidelines. You know, do not have gluten and dairy, because you'll just exacerbate it. You know, my doctor told me I would never get my antibodies down, and they were over 1,000, and I'm now in normal range. And all I did was eliminate what he said to eliminate. And so, you know, I think it's important to note that can help anyone get better faster. If they even have some antibodies showing, just stop those foods and see how you do.
So in the reset, in the total body reset for the thyroid, I think that's the name of the thyroid book. I definitely talk about Hashimoto's. I didn't go into it with Tara because she'll read it, that avoid gluten and dairy. But that's interesting about rice and corn as well. And also with autoimmune, that in my world, anybody who goes autoimmune, that's yeast overgrowth and magnesium deficiency. So that I definitely talk about as well. So it's, but you know, with this business is about arsenic and all that, I try not to go into all those details too much, Valerie, because what we've got with the Realign, for example, is a combination. That is a gentle heavy metal detoxifier. So that instead of scaring people to avoid everything in your world, you know, and yet I don't say eat crap. You know what I say. I say to eat living food and all the rest of it. But then depend on your nutrients, the building blocks to detoxify the body that are in the Realign. I mean, the methylation in the realigned Bs and the sulfur amino acids will support the sulfation and methylation detoxification pathways. So I figure people are covered, and that's why I don't go into excruciating detail, because my clients, patients, customers are taking the product, so I know they're covered. So and I'm not their doctor, so I don't have the ability to do all the testing. And frankly, I don't like all the testing, because it scares people to know that, oh my gosh, I've got all this. And what I'm sure you know is that, being on the products, you can eat things you weren't able to before, et cetera, et cetera. But it's always within reason. So anyway, that's
right. I had a number of people that were avoiding gluten and dairy, and then eating the gluten-free foods. And what was interesting is most of them have rice and corn. And what was interesting is if they brought them in for me to test, the gluten-free foods were not good foods for them. So, I just told them, okay, well, here are some other things you can do. You have other options. They just need to know options so they don't feel like there's nothing that they can eat. And actually, almond flour and coconut flour work well for lots of people. So it's really good when they get off of the high glycemic grains and they start feeling better, then they're ready to do the next step. And I just see that as they work their way up, I tell them, 1 teaspoon of Remeg is a really baby dose. So work your way up and keep increasing until you get that slight laxative effect, and you may need a lot for a while if you've had reasons for your levels to be very low, and then you can back down. So, it is important that they're getting those nutrients. They're going to get better so much faster if they have those building block nutrients. And then if they also do the dietary things, then they're going to get better even faster. So it's a wonderful thing. Thank you so much for all your work. I really appreciate, I keep telling my people, I send them out emails, please call in and listen, please call and listen. You can ask your questions, because, some of them really want to hear from an MD, because they're going to all these MDs who don't know anything about nutrition, and it's really frustrating for some of them. So when they hear the stories of the people who you read their letters or they call in their questions, it's so encouraging to them, to hear people that have really gotten well. They need to hear that, so that they don't just lose hope, So thank you. Thank you so much. Wishing you well in your work, and keep on the good work.
Thanks, Valerie, and thanks for your input. I appreciate it.
Sure. Have a good night.
Good night.
Okay, excellent. Let's go to SoCal, Southern California, area code 619. You're on the line with Dr. Dean this evening.
Hello, Jenny. Hi. Jenny and Dr. Dean, this is Mark Sweat from San Diego. How are you guys?
Hey, hi, Mark.
Good.
Hi, buddy. How's it going, eh? Did you get my email?
No, I haven't seen it yet. So I've been away from my...
And Mark? Okay, Bob, it went through Bob, and Bob only works 1 day a week, so maybe it hasn't gone...
Okay. Okay. Yeah, this is the first time I've called into your show, so maybe I'll make this a repeat. You may be aware that I called in Saturday night, and... I was there. I spoke to your medical assistant, Dr. Ion, and, I'll get to the bottom line, and then we can work back. But despite very good, what I consider blood markers, and most of my tests for I'd say many years, I ran across through my last 5 months of being on the keto diet, and much of what you said in your monologue, that's information that I've come across at the same time. And I came across the coronary artery calcification scan, and the people talking about that stressed the fact that, hey, you can be thin, you can be active, you can have all the correct blood markers, but you could have calcified plaque buildup in your main arteries. And it's worth testing for. And so I went to my doctor and asked for a referral,
Hang on, Mark. Let's use this as a bit of an educational thing here. When they said, we'll test you for it, what did they say they could do to treat it if it was elevated?
Oh, they don't prescribe a treatment. The imaging center just records the results. Now, my doctor, the first words out of the first words out of my doctor's mouth was, "We need to get you on Lipitor." And because I do have elevated LDLs, but all my research in the past 5-6 months associated with keto has convinced me that the cholesterol is not the problem. It's, as you said, metabolic syndrome and inflammation in arteries. And so I took the test and fully expecting very good results, and mine were off the chart negative. So for your listeners, as you probably know, 0 is the best score, means you have 0 calcification, and anything over 400 is considered to be severe, and mine was 1,431. On Saturday night I said 1439, but it's 1431. So so obviously that was very concerning to me, and I sent an email to you and Bob, and so after calling in Saturday night, I'm less concerned about it, but the thing to really be aware of is the progression of it. And so
let's stop right there. I hear you. I heard your Saturday night. I've got your email. Here's what I wrote to Mark. Basically, you had a test that the doctor says shows a lot of calcium in the coronary arteries. What I think is that you're probably moving calcium with the REMAG and with your keto diet, and it might be showing up because it's in the process of shifting. Instead of a hard solid, it's fluffier as it's being infiltrated by magnesium and being lifted out and solubilized. I imagine that in a few months, most of that calcium will be gone. I would keep taking the 3 teaspoons of REMAG along with the other formulas, and also apply REMAG lotion to your chest and tell the angels to get to work.
Okay, that's a great answer. Now, the only thing I would ask about is Saturday night it was mentioned that I might want to gradually increase my teaspoons of magnesium until I experience the laxative effect.
Yes, that's true. That is true. And Valerie just mentioned it, and she mentioned that I personally was on 4 teaspoons for my symptoms. So it certainly would be helpful and would speed the process along. And the other thing, Mark, just to, now that you're on the phone to get the details, are you eating much in the way of calcium in your diet?
Well, I mentioned this Saturday night. I've been taking the Recalcia, but just a teaspoon a day. But my diet probably in the green vegetables that I take and the cheese, I'm probably getting some calcium, but not that I could measure or indicate.
Okay, here's what I would say about that is no more Recalcia. Just let your greens and cheese be all the calcium, because, you know, as you can imagine, if your body only needs 600 milligrams, then it'll grab it from the diet and leave it in your coronary arteries instead of allowing it to be moved out. So, and I think you realize that too, that you really don't need to be taking calcium. So
I will. I'll do some research on the vegetables. You know, I'm doing the normal, you know, spinach, cauliflower, asparagus, broccoli, that kind of thing as far as my carbs. And so I will do a little research and see what kind of calcium I'm getting out of those particular vegetables.
Right.
And the cheese.
Then hydrate. Are you good with your hydration?
I believe so, yeah. I drink quite a bit of water. And today, yes, the sea salt. In fact, I was told to bump up my my salt intake, which I'm doing. And today I'm on 6 teaspoons of magnesium. So
okay.
I'm gonna go for it and see what happens.
Right.
Okay, so I got pretty good advice Saturday night, and I'll look at your email, and I sure appreciate it.
Okay, that's great. And yeah, there's not. I would not even blink about this. It's just I don't know. It's the testing situation that I find myself having to face with customers all the time. That's they get a test, and then their whole world falls apart. Certainly yours hasn't. You're being nicely circumspect about it, but that could be scary because they don't have an answer for you. I didn't think they were doing much of this testing because they really couldn't help people with the problem, whereas as I put on the chat line that night, I don't know if you saw the different blogs that I threw up on the chat. One of our customers, her carotid arteries were that gave her a stroke were blocked up, and after 3 months on Remag, her coronary arteries have the width of the calcification diminished 30-40%. So
that's great.
And the coronary arteries are very important, obviously. So I'm just sort of scanning through my total biology to see if there's anything specific about them. I mean, the heart, of course, is very important. It has to do with territory. So with the coronary artery being in conflict, loss of job, loss of territory, retiring, shifting jobs. Is anything like that on the horizon for you?
No, none of that. I'm pretty relaxed, and the only I'm looking at the paperwork from the imaging place, and the only comment they make is consider targeting LDL values. And so they, just like my doctor, they're looking at this as a cholesterol issue, and instead of inflammation and all that. But one point I would like to make is of my values. They break down the 5 different arteries, and the right coronary artery is way higher than any of the others. And now the Widowmaker is the left LAD. And that has a score of 283 on its own, would be high, but my RCA is 909. And so the 62% of my score is in that one artery.
Well, what I would do there, Mark, is have a conversation with Dr. David Holt and ask him what the right coronary artery means in terms of conflict. I don't have that dissection here in my notes, but that would be fascinating, because when there's a discrepancy like that, that shouldn't be, correct? If your whole body is perfused with too much calcium, it's going to be even throughout. And when there's that sort of disparity, then it would be important to figure out, we talk about right and left in the body in terms of total biology. I don't know if that means anything, the right side of the heart, left side of the heart. Certainly it would. I mean, the right side does a whole different function than the left side. So the right side So the left is pushing blood out, the right is bringing blood in. So what's coming from the outside in your world, into your world that you have lost control of, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So
there could be something like that for sure. I will, I'll take that to heart and contact Dr.
Take that to heart.
No,
did you hear what you
No pun
said?
intended. I know.
You intended that pun. You did pun. Okay, Mark, good talking to you.
Okay,
Hey, just
one
sent
last
the email.
thing.
Hey, sent the email.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. Thank you. One of my arteries was 0, which is, so that's kind of strange that you have 0 all the way to 909.
Oh,
so
yeah.
anyway.
Oh, yeah. Oh, very
okay,
cool.
Well,
That'd
thank
be
you.
fun to work out. Okay, Mark.
Okay.
Good talking to you.
I sent the email 5 minutes ago. 5 minutes ago.
Stop it,
Okay,
Bob.
thanks, Bob. Okay, bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bob wanted to get recognized.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, Ginny.
See you, Dr. Dean.
Okay, Mark.
Okay, very good. And we'll take one more call and then wrap up with testimonials. Let's go to area code 917. 917, you're on the line with Dr. Carolyn Dean. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment.
Hi, this is David from New York.
Okay,
David?
You've got 1 minute. 1 minute,
1
David.
minute. Just want to ask about a fatty liver since I have hepatitis B. So it's all about the sugar, right?
Well, with hepatitis B, that to me that would be pico silver and eating high protein to heal the liver. But did you have a specific question? What are you thinking?
If the sugar is because I don't have I didn't have a good relationship with sugar. So, but in the last 2 weeks, it seems like I'm controlling it.
Yeah.
And one more little question that could be a fat question. Is LDL is part of the immune system? Is that the reason
LDL?
why I have a high? Yes.
Oh no. Well, what the lipids are, what cholesterol is, it acts like an antioxidant, actually, David. When the body requires, like Mark was talking about, he's got calcium and irritation of his arteries. Well, cholesterol will come along like a Band-Aid to try to help treat that micro-ulceration of the arteries. And then doctors think that cholesterol is the problem. So LDL is doing good things. But back to the sugar, though, now that what you're saying, the liver will be quite irritated by having a high sugar diet, and it would be hard for it to get into balance.
It's a load. It's a load on the liver. Yes.
It's a load. Yeah. Good point. Yeah, that's the way to say it. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
So I'm glad you're off your sugar. Good for you.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Thanks, David. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Okay, Carolyn, let her rip, Tater Chip.
I know, and David, yes, thank you. I mean, David's a regular here. He knows that. He knows I'm just teasing when I say I give you 1 minute. Don't think that I'm abusing David. Okay, testimonial.
Very good.
Remag has literally saved my life, changed my entire outlook. I have no pain. I had a fibromyalgia diagnosis as well as osteoarthritis from x-rays, sports injuries. The difference I feel physically, mentally, and emotionally on Remag is amazing. You're the only doctor who has actually made any logical sense in my entire life of being ill. Because of you and Remag, I recognize I haven't felt this good physically since I was about 10 years old and had energy all day long. Thank you yet again. The very fact I know it is actually you personally who has taken time out of your incredibly busy life to consider my health issues is amazing to me, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I think she continues, or maybe it's someone else. I took high-quality magnesium supplements for about 2 years in every other form, before finally listening to my common sense and logical mind and bought Remag. I thought I couldn't afford Remag. My last bottle of another liquid magnesium brand was given to me as a gift, so I finished it. Then I bought Remag finally. Happily, I discovered Remag really doesn't cost more than any of the other supplements I was taking, and Remag actually works. Dr. Dean's explanation is right when she says our bodies can't absorb enough magnesium in any other form to actually get what Dr. Dean calls saturated. I only say this because I took the highest possible doses of the other brands, and I know the magnesium I managed to absorb made a difference, but not like this. I was quite ill for almost 4 years, only managing to work for 7 months during that whole time with a series of mysterious illnesses, although I was walking and talking, so no one, including myself, knew what in the heck was wrong and why I couldn't work. I have a huge, long health history, which I now know stemmed from the incredibly high yeast overgrowth in my body. This knowledge has been medically proven by such items as toenail clippings, growing yeast in the lab instead of toenail fungus. Also, the texture of my hair is different. I don't need to wash it as often, and the hair all over my body has changed. For example, my pubic hair is now curly when it was straight all my life. My skin literally glows. I get many compliments. That's very sweet. Testimonial. Hi, Dr. Carolyn and Ginny. Well, actually, it says, hi, Ginny and Dr. Carolyn. I've been taking Remag for 4 months. I keep a daily journal. It amazes me. Realign and Pico Silver have now joined my routine. In addition to no more leg cramps, I have more energy in my busy life and all the return to my youth in visual signs, including the roots growing in dark again. No more gray at my 75th-year-old head. Today had a checkup on my pacemaker, and to the technician's surprise, my incidence of AFib had dropped from 6 months ago. I just think how much of a drop it will record in my next checkup. And I've been on your truly amazing products, when I've been on your truly amazing products for the full 6 months. My hubby has taken my daily drink, Joy Juice. He sees the healthy changes in me and has jumped on board this return to youth train. We toast to all your continued good health with Joy Juice, and this is a couple from Ontario. Thank you. Testimonial. Big thank you, Dr. Dean. A couple of months ago, I had reached a low point and asked for Dr. Dean's cancer FAQ. I heeded her advice to the max and read up on German New Medicine, total biology, and recall healing, as if my life depended on it. I listened to your February 2018 Doctor to Doctor radio show with Dr. David Holt several times. I started consultations with him in late May, still in progress. Working with Dr. Holt has been a profound experience, along with a profound healing response, I might add. I wanted to let you and Dr. Holt know about the recently updated reflections page on my cancer journey website, where I summarize my 3-year experience thus far, where both of you are referenced. And she summarizes it. I guess she wants us to give this out. joyandhealing.com/reflections. joyandhealing.com/reflections. I would still be in the catch-22 of mainstream alternative cancer protocols filled with fear and overwhelm, she says, if I hadn't responded. And because we don't treat cancer, we do have the FAQ, which we pretty much tell people to speak with Dr. Holt and take the complement formulas. Testimonial. It took over 5 years before I found your products, and that was only because my eldest sister is a huge fan. She told me in no uncertain terms I needed Remag. A few days later it arrived, and I had my first dose. 15 minutes later, I was feeling better, physically and mentally, in so many ways I cannot describe the elation I felt. Since that day, continuing with my simple diet, gradually increasing my intake of Remag, I've returned to being able to once again properly digest 8 ounces of beef occasionally about every 3 days with no discomfort and without having to boost my hydrochloric acid with either strong coffee or HCl supplements. I also noticed my bipolar-like mood swings have become increasingly less pronounced as I've gradually increased my intake of Remag. I'm not experiencing the 3 or 4 day deep depressions I used to fall into regularly. I still have mood swings, but nothing like what I used to have. This is a huge improvement in my life. And then she talks about being able to digest some bread, and she's seen improvements in muscle and joint pain. The lotion especially is useful in eliminating pain in joints and muscles. If you saw my x-rays, you'd understand why she's had a lot of problems with injuries, etc. over the years. Remag lotion always stops the pain instantly. I like to use it before bed, and I find the next day my muscles and joints seem stronger, more resilient. And this is from Joseph. And that's the mailbag that I rushed through speed talking. Actually, here's Joseph does write a final sentence, and it's a great sentence. He says, Remag is not a miracle. It helps the body heal itself. Our body is the miracle. With the correct raw materials, I believe our bodies can heal any sickness. My sincere thanks to Dr. Dean for literally saving me from decades of suffering. I'm forever in her debt. No, people aren't in my debt. I don't do debt. I just tell people I created these products for my own self, and I'm sharing them with you. Right, Ginny?
Yes, very, very true. Yes, you do. And yes, you're very humble in that regard when it comes to no, you are. You've done incredible things. I mean, I was just sitting here going, okay, Dr. Dean changed my life. I owe everything to Dr. Dean. If it wouldn't be for you, I probably wouldn't be alive. And you just rattle them off, blah, 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 every show, blah, 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 and I tease you about it, but we are kind of used to it. Now we expect it. And when somebody writes in and says, I have a quick testimonial, and it doesn't start with Dr. Dean changed my life, I'm like, what's the matter with this testimonial? No, I mean, but it's incredible what the formulas do and what you've done. It's amazing, and you are very humble about it, very sincere, very sweet. Okay, now let's just say these things before we go. We've got 2 little chitty chatters who have quick questions for you. Well, one thing Nan wanted to say is I took Armour Thyroid 10 years, and an ultrasound tech told me he saw many people with atrophied thyroids using Armour or Synthyroid after using them for many years. Apparently the drugs aren't doing what they're supposed to do. That kind of makes sense, doesn't it, Carolyn?
Oh, yeah. If you're replacing your thyroid cells function by giving hormones, then they'll just stop functioning as well. But that's interesting, Nan. I'll have to look that up. Thank you.
Yeah, interesting. And also, Lisa typed in and said an email sent today on Reset Your Liver mentions your product for Revive, but I do not see it for sale on the website, much to our chagrin. Lisa.
Hey, Lisa. I wonder if that's Lisa in China. Yeah, Lisa would be right on it. Yeah, I should have said soon to arrive. How long have we been waiting for Whole Sea Reset and Flora Revive? I mean, we started talking about it like 2 years ago, I think.
Well, we started talking 2 years ago, and we actually sent out our test product last fall in October. So it is with much chagrin that it's been almost a year. But it just goes to show you that we will sell no supplement before it's time. I mean, it has to be right or it's not going out the door. So there is a confidence builder there somewhere, but it has been a little frustrating, but we've finally got all our raw ingredients together, and we will have it soon, Lisa, probably within the next 30 to 45 days. And believe me, we'll be shouting it from the rooftops when it comes.
Yeah. But, yes, thanks, Lisa. We should be mentioning that every week now because I'm putting out the new books that talk about the whole C reset and flora revive because people wanted the sugar book, and so I have the products in there. So yes, we're aware, and we all are chagrined together.
Well, it was a great show for a holiday show, Carolyn. We're already at the top of the hour, and everybody did a great job. We had fantastic callers. It was very rich. Another tasty Dr. Dean snack.
Yeah, tasty bites. Any last words, Bob?
Oh, no. I'm not allowed in the show.
Very good. Perfect.
Very
words,
good.
Bob.
Excellent response, Bob. All right. We love Dr. Dean, and we love her husband, Bob, too.
I'm just
Good
in a
night, you
holiday
guys.
mood.
Thanks, Jenny.
Hey, good day.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Bill. Thanks, listener.
Till next time, so long, and thanks for all the fish.
AchieveRadio.com.
When I was around 10 years old, my father bought a television. And I said, Dad, don't bring that into the house. It's going to change the whole family structure. It's going to change the neighborhood. Already a bunch of people in the neighborhood have TV, and I can see the effects on my peers.
We'll continue after this.
I warned him it's going to create a separation and create a Berlin Wall in the family. It's going to make my sister become a different kind of person. It's going to make me become a different kind of person. I'll lose my interest in hockey. I'll get into